Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got some Black Ops 4 gameplay for you, and I'm continuing the trend of what has basically turned into Treyarch Week on the channel because I'm still taking a break from Warzone, and I decided to dust off the old PlayStation 4 and go back to Black Ops 4 since, in case you haven't heard, it's free to play in July if you have PlayStation Plus. Sorry X-Bros and PC guys, this is a deal exclusively to Sony because of Activision's business relationship with them, so if you want to play on PC or Xbox, you still have to pay for it, and I really wouldn't recommend it at this point since the communities there are basically dead. But if you have PlayStation and your PlayStation's connected to the internet with PS Plus, that means it's free to play for you, and so is Blackout. Not just the base multiplayer, but Blackout 2. We'll talk about that one tomorrow probably. So if you've never tried Black Ops 4, and I know a lot of you haven't because I don't think the game sold super well, or if you haven't tried Blackout before, now is the time. It's hard to beat a better price than free. The only thing you have to pay is the time spent downloading it. What should really tempt you though is that supposedly skill-based matchmaking has been loosened in Black Ops 4, and I am treading into dangerous waters here with this conversation, but I've got great gameplay for you today. It's only a couple of matches, but I absolutely stomp people. This isn't a scientific test by any means, so we're not going to be going down that path. However, these lobbies were very easy. More specifically, all of the Carnage guys in the big group chat have been playing a lot of Black Ops 4 lately, and pretty much all of them are reporting the same thing in that they are getting easy lobbies very consistently, though occasionally they get matched up against other YouTubers and pub stompers and whatever that are also looking for high kill games to post on their YouTube channel, and it's just getting a lot more traction on YouTube and a lot more attention. I'm seeing people tweeting, just people that I don't really know or follow that closely, saying that it's a lot easier than it was when the game is out. So it's possible that if you want an actual casual Call of Duty experience like the good old days, this might be the game and the time for you. You could theoretically load up Black Ops 4 and go play with significantly loosened skill-based matchmaking, and it could feel kind of like CoD 4 and MW2-ish lobbies. However, I think it's fair to play my own devil's advocate on this one. It's also possible that skill-based matchmaking has not been adjusted, but rather the game is now being flooded with free-to-play players, though the effect would kind of be the same, because it would skew the overall distribution of players very heavily toward the bad players. Most of the people playing Black Ops 4 would be totally new because everybody else would have already purchased it and played it and probably kind of burned out on it. Non-spending gamers, people that play free-to-play games, tend to be more casual than the early adopting big spenders. That's not a guaranteed thing, but by and large, people that'll do something a lot and pay a whole bunch of money up front and play day one and train to be good are going to be much better than the people that play it like 2 or 3 years later when it becomes free to play. Most of the people returning to Black Ops 4 could have also had their cooldown periods reset. This is based on a non-proven theory about skill-based matchmaking, and I really want to emphasize that this is not proof and not science, and I do not have evidence of this, but it's just an experiential one, that if you don't play the game for long enough, it'll slowly lower your skill level down to kind of like basic, like 1.0, like normal player. You've kind of got a cooldown, and they do this so that if you come back after X number of weeks, months, years, your first game back, you're not jumping right back in at the same competitive level that you were at before and getting totally stomped. It's kind of like how most ranked games will put you one division lower than where you were when you left if you skip a season or two of ranked. So if you haven't played in a long time, you'll come back and you'll get really normal lobbies, which if you're a great gamer might feel easy for you for X number of games or days or matches or whatever. And experientially, this has been true for me, not only of Call of Duty products, but across a lot of different games. It is also possible not only that I'm getting easier lobbies because I haven't played in a while, but I've kind of forgot some of my preconceived notions about how to play, and I'm coming in fresh with a little bit of a better or different mindset instead of like really pushing myself to do like YouTube savvy things with that commentary monkey sitting on my shoulder. And this definitely happens to me when I play Apex Legends, which I know is a totally different game, but it still uses skill matching. When I come back to Apex after a long time, and this happens pretty frequently because I go play it, a little bit at least once a month, my first couple of games are usually way easier than they are the second or third day back, as long as Niku isn't in the party. Niku is an Apex Predator, so he kind of skews everything and gets me put in there with the sweats from the very beginning. So Black Ops 4 right now is kind of a crazy free-for-all. It's a big mix of older gamers coming back to get like YouTube commentaries. There's people, new gamers exploring it for the first time for free to play, so you can pub stomp them. There are people that have never experienced this before and are just kind of screwing around and having all kinds of different fun, and that's a nice healthy gaming ecosystem to see. I did want to offer a brief retrospective on this as well. I just wanted to talk about Black Ops 4 during its life cycle and then, kind of looking back at it now. Black Ops 4 died really fast into its life cycle, which is sad because the game wasn't that bad, and I know that's a controversial opinion in the CoD community, but Black Ops 4 was far from the worst Call of Duty, though it did have almost completely opposite offerings that Cold War did at launch. So if you remember correctly, Black Ops 4 launched with what was essentially no campaign. You had little story missions, you had a reasonably well fleshed out multiplayer, then you had zombies, and a couple of months after launch you had Battle Royale. Well, when Black Ops Cold War launched, you had a short but, in my opinion, satisfying campaign. Multiplayer was there, but it was tiny. Like, there was only a couple of different maps, and they had to make strike team versions of other maps so that you didn't just have like 4 to play. Multiplayer was very, very bare bones, and they didn't add the Cold War stuff into Warzone for its Battle Royale until several months later, and I guess it got its own thing with Rebirth, but that was just kind of like a remake of Alcatraz, really. So, and they both had zombies, but in different ways the zombies community has struggled in both games to get the full set of things that they wanted out of it, and each time they kind of repurposed a lot of assets into zombies to kind of make it work. So it was very, very opposite with their offerings. You want more multiplayer, you want more campaign, and I think that one of the main turnoffs for people wasn't just the campaign, but rather that specialists returned. They'd been dealing with specialists and special abilities and jetpacks and stuff since Infinite Warfare, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, with a little break in the middle for World War II, where we're going back into the dinosaur era when nobody knew what a silicon microchip was, much less transporting bodies and spaceships and stuff. So the jump from Future to World War II to Back to Future, and World War II had no like special abilities, and then you go back to the future with special abilities, and you have special abilities be very core and key to the game, more Overwatch-like, more Destiny-like than it ever has been before, because the Black Ops 3 ones had similarities, but they were quite simple. These were fundamental to the play of the game, and a lot of things that could or should have been maybe score streaks or kill streaks or weapons or equipment were smushed into these abilities, and you even had to like trade off some abilities in order to get equipment like flashbangs sometimes. And this was too much for players to handle. I think the overall balance of it wasn't too bad. There were a couple of characters that, like Torque, that could really close off an entire map, and you had like the microwave shield and the barbed wire. They could do really unfair things for 6v6 S&D and for competitive, but for like casual play, I think it like kind of worked. It wasn't that bad. The problem was it didn't feel very COD-like. It felt more like an Overwatch hybrid kind of game, which isn't what people wanted. They wanted their realistic mil-sim gunfights, kind of like in Modern Warfare 19 and to a lesser degree Black Ops Cold War. But in those two games, you didn't have health bars, and I gotta admit, like, coming back to this, it's kind of nice to have the health bars in the game, so I know how strong my enemies are, if I'm missing, if I'm hitting, and it's kind of easier to gauge when people are going to die. Also, the maps were bright and colorful, making the enemies very easy to spot, which is something that I can't say about Modern Warfare, Warzone, or Black Ops Cold War for that matter. Cold War probably better than the others, but it still kind of struggles with visibility for reasons that I don't entirely understand. However, there's one major aspect of Black Ops 4 that fans were absolutely right about, which I guess isn't a problem at the moment, is that its monetization system was the absolute worst that Call of Duty has ever seen. There were pre-order bonuses for the game. Then the game was $60. The Battle Royale was not free. You did get it with the $60 game. They had a Battle Pass that rotated every couple of months. Then there were direct purchases on top of the Battle Pass, which is similar to what we have now. But then you had the seasonal DLC pass for another $60 if you wanted to play any new zombie maps or any new multiplayer maps. And then when you're done with all of that, they just decided to add supply drops back into the game to get some of the weapons. So we had a little bit or a lot of bit of absolutely everything. And then the cherry on top, the piece de resistance, their masterpiece was briefly adding paid loot drops into Battle Royale. So it was kind of like a Casino Royale. The way this is really kind of what made me quit the Battle Royale, that and collecting paint cans, but you could, if I remember correctly, buy some pass or microtransaction that would allow you to get like Lucky Charm loot chests that other people wouldn't get if they didn't pay for that, so I kind of dipped out at that point. And this system is something that I absolutely do not miss and would never like to have back in Call of Duty. I don't miss that even in the slightest. So that's kind of just a little retrospective, some little thoughts on it, and some kind of facts and figures about skill-based matchmaking. I hope you enjoyed this throwback Call of Duty gameplay, this kind of old-school commentary style. And my advice to you would be, if you've got the spare time, you could just download this game, install it, play it a little bit, and then tell me what you think in the comments. If I was right or wrong about it not being so bad, or more importantly, is skill-based matchmaking really back, or is it completely gone? That's kind of a big one for the community. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.